Hey, you! How long do you plan on sleeping?
What? I just gave birth to a child, you know?
So what? As a wife, you should have come back home and taken care of the housework, even on the day you gave birth.
My mother-in-law said such unreasonable things. There is no need to show mercy to someone like her.
Anyway, where are you now?
I told my mother-in-law where I was at the moment. And my mother-in-law started to get flustered, even over the phone.
Why? Why is that?
My name is Emma. I'm a 30-year-old company employee. I'd been married to my husband Greg for 3 years. We met through work. Greg used to be my supervisor at the company where I started working after graduating from college. And when I joined the company, Greg was assigned as my mentor.
You're doing well, Emma. But don't let your guard down.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate your guidance. My husband was generally reserved and had a strict demeanor. So, I always felt a bit nervous when working with him. But despite being strict, he gave me precise advice. And working with him was a great learning experience. That's why I had a lot of respect for him. And since my husband rarely praised others, I felt genuinely happy whenever he did. Our relationship started to grow closer during the company's Christmas party. I wasn't good at large gatherings like these parties, so I always made sure not to attend the after party. And that year, there was a scheduled after party, but my husband declined to join, saying he had to visit his parents. Both I and others genuinely believed that my husband would visit his parents. As usual, I made up a random excuse to decline the after party and decided to go to a cafe by myself. After joining the party with everyone for a while, I wanted some alone time to relax and calm myself. So I went to a cafe that was open late and sat down to have a coffee. Then, the cafe door opened, and it was my husband who walked in. It's Greg. Didn't he say he had something to do at his parents'? I thought that as I watched him from a distant table. The interior of the cafe was dimly lit with mostly indirect lighting, so it seemed like he hadn't noticed me. After he placed his order, a beautiful parfait arrived at his table.
Huh? A parfait? I couldn't believe my eyes. Seeing him, who was usually so quiet, eating a parfait with such a happy expression, made me wonder. He told his subordinates he had something to do. And here he was, alone in a cafe, enjoying a parfait, and looking so content. I couldn't help but feel so intrigued by him after witnessing that. I was slightly happy to see an unexpected side of my reserved and strict boss. Since then, I became very curious about him, and I started making advances towards him. At first, even when I invited him for drinks, he didn't accept. But knowing that he liked sweets, I invited him to a dessert bar known for its delicious treats. With that strategy, he finally agreed to go with me. And I succeeded in meeting him after work, just the two of us. Even though work had ended, he still talked to me as my boss. But when the dessert he ordered was placed in front of him, his face softened with delight. Seeing Greg like that, I couldn't help but smile. Noticing my expression, he laughed slightly, looking a bit embarrassed. By the way, why did you invite me to this kind of place? I don't think I mentioned that I like sweets.
Well, the truth is, I saw it. Saying that, I told Greg about what happened at the previous Christmas party. Then he blushed and said,
Seriously? You saw that? That's embarrassing.
It's okay. I haven't told anyone at work, of course. But honestly, I felt a sense of familiarity with you, Greg. I always thought you were a perfect person.
Nah, I'm far from perfect. I'm always struggling.
Huh, is that so? As I continued talking with him, my impression of him kept changing. I realized that you have to talk and get to know the other person deeply. And the more I get to know him, the more I became interested in him. If you're up for it, let's go eat delicious desserts together again. Greg, please also tell me about good places you eat. Once I realized my feelings, I actively started pursuing him. After a while, he asked me out on a date.
There's a cafe I often go to that serves delicious pancakes. How about going there on our day off?
Yes. Inside, I was doing a little victory dance as I accepted his invitation. Yes, I'd love to. For the first time, I went to a cafe with him on a day off, not after work. There, I saw him in casual clothes, and I thought he looked even more attractive. From then on, we started going on regular dates, and our distance kept getting closer. And finally, he formally asked me to be in a relationship, and we started dating. I knew he cared a lot about me, so I was happy. After about 2 years of dating, he proposed to me. Of course, I accepted right then and there. Once the decision was made, we quickly had our families meet. And 6 months after the proposal, we had our wedding. My colleagues were surprised to hear that Greg and I were getting married. Apparently, no one had thought we were dating. But everyone was very happy for us and gave us their blessings. And so, our married life began. Living together with my beloved husband made me incredibly happy. Since it wouldn't be appropriate for my husband and me to be in the same department at work, I requested a transfer to a different department. It was challenging to learn the job in the new department, but I enjoyed the work there and had a fulfilling time. My husband wasn't as reserved in private as he was at work. He talked to me a lot, and we even goofed around together. Both my married life and my work were fulfilling, and I tasted the level of happiness I had never experienced before. However, amidst this happy life, I suddenly encountered a source of worry. It was my mother-in-law.
Oh, you're here too?
Yes. Hi. Whenever we visited my in-law's house, my mother-in-law looked at me with a very stern gaze. But her sternness was different from the way my husband looked at me when we worked together. My mother-in-law's gaze had malicious intent.
Emma, you are so slow in your work. Can't you make the food faster? Greg married someone like you, who can't do household chores. It's so pitiful.
My mother-in-law attacked me fiercely if she found even the slightest thing I couldn't do. Why did I have to be blamed and scolded so unfairly? Every time I visited my in-laws, I would be upset and in a bad mood from being unjustly scolded by my mother-in-law. And as these days continued, it became quite mentally challenging for a while. My husband must have sensed it.
Emma, is my mom saying something to you?
My husband suddenly said that, and I was surprised. And he told me that I didn't have to come with him to my in-laws' house if I didn't want to. Thanks to that, I only needed to show up at my in-laws' house for important family events, and I felt much relieved. I was truly grateful that my husband cared for me in that way. I genuinely felt that I had married an amazing person. And in the blink of an eye, 2 years had passed since we got married. In the midst of it, I discovered that I was pregnant. When I told my husband, he was overjoyed.
Really? Emma, thank you.
My husband loves children, actually. He was incredibly happy when he found out we are having our own child.
From now on,
I will work harder than ever.
Emma, prioritize resting and taking care of your body.
Okay, I got it. I'm looking forward to it. My husband takes great care of me. And it made me truly realize that I was indeed pregnant. But now, after a long time, my troublesome mother-in-law started getting deeply involved. Since it's your first childbirth, you must want some advice, right?
I'll support you, so tell me anything you need.
My mother-in-law seems happy. But honestly, I found it annoying how she forcefully tried to get involved. I expressed my gratitude while brushing it off casually, but since then, my mother-in-law started coming to our house quite often.
Emma, I'm here.
Huh? What happened all of a sudden?
What do you mean? It's for the sake of your baby, of course. I need to check if you're having proper meals. Also, I thought I should see how much you've improved with the household chores in these 2 years.
My mother-in-law said with a mean smile. She seemed pleased to be able to pick on me after such a long time. I became very anxious. If this situation continued, it might have a negative impact on my unborn baby.
Huh? Mom was here?
Yeah, it was sudden, so I was surprised.
I see. You don't have to let her in if it's too much.
Okay, thanks, honey. My husband said that to me. So from then on, I didn't let my mother-in-law into the house and pretended not to be home. And then, my mother-in-law, "Where on earth are you going? You should come back immediately. It's affecting the baby." She called me numerous times and sent messages like that. I couldn't block her calls since that wouldn't be right. But I was fed up with the content notifications on my buzzing phone. This created a vicious cycle where I became stressed and concerned about her messages. I pondered on what to do for a while, and reluctantly, I discussed it with my husband. Even he was unsure about what to do.
I see. I'll tell Mom not to contact you too often.
Saying that, my husband contacted my mother-in-law.
Mom, you don't have to visit our house too frequently.
Huh? But what if something happens to Emma?
It's okay. We've made sure we can reach out to each other immediately if anything happens. It's actually more stressful for Emma when you come over frequently or contact her like a maniac.
Is that what Emma is saying?
No, it's not like that, but we just want a safe delivery for the baby. Without any stress, you know?
So you were saying I'm the cause of her stress?
My. What a terrible daughter-in-law. Well, I've understood her opinion. Mom, I think you are interpreting things strangely.
My husband had put the call on speaker, so I heard every word my mother-in-law said. Her words and actions were just imposition, disguised as goodwill. And even after that, my mother-in-law continued to call me multiple times and ring the doorbell. And when she realized I wasn't answering, she contacted me even more. Even my husband was exasperated at this point. I was in the final month of pregnancy, and it was a crucial time for me and the baby. So, I didn't want to be disturbed by mother-in-law because of something like this. That's when my husband had a suggestion and we made a decision.
Greg, are you sure about this?
Yeah. I'm tired of being bothered by my mom anymore. Let's make sure we can spend time peacefully, okay?
Yeah. Thank you.
I was really glad that my husband was on my side.
After that, I went to the hospital when I went into labor on my due date. And our baby was born safely. A healthy baby girl. My husband and father-in-law were so delighted with the birth of our adorable daughter. But my mother-in-law...
So, he's not a boy after all.
She made an unthinkable remark.
I was really angry because I had gone through the pain of childbirth.
And she suddenly said something like that. My husband and father-in-law were also shocked. My husband spoke to my mother-in-law.
Mom, if you were going to say things like that, please leave.
Greg? Why?
Right now, I want to be with only the people who are genuinely happy about this child's birth.
Of course, I'm happy too.
Then you wouldn't make remarks like earlier, would you?
I just thought that having a successor might be necessary.
That's all. What are you saying? I'm not some kind of a business owner, you know. Who needs a successor?
My father-in-law also sided with me, and I was grateful for that. Perhaps feeling at a disadvantage, my mother-in-law apologized.
I'm sorry. I take back what I said earlier.
She apologized like that. Afterward, my mother-in-law became quiet, but she glared at me the whole time. 2 days later, I received a message from my mother-in-law. Hello? What's the matter?
How long do you plan on sleeping?
You're such a lazy person. Excuse me?
You are too sloppy.
I can't believe it. I just gave birth to my daughter, you know.
So what? What's your point?
As a wife, you should have come back home on the day of giving birth and done the household chores.
Just because Greg spoils you doesn't mean I'll forgive you. If you can't bear a boy,
then at least handle other matters properly. My mother-in-law continued to say unreasonable things like that. There's no need for me to show mercy to someone like her. No matter what you say, I won't obey.
What? Come back immediately. I will beat the rotten mentality out of you.
My mother-in-law got angry and said that. Even if you say that, I'm no longer at the hospital.
Huh? Then where are you right now?
So I honestly told my mother-in-law where I was. I'm currently at my parents' house. And Greg is with me too.
Greg too?
Yes. We've decided to live here. We've made the decision to start our life in my hometown. My mother-in-law was clearly shaken by the sad news over the phone. Yes, my husband and I chose to live in my hometown, which is in a rural area. My husband arranged to work remotely through his company, allowing us to live anywhere. So, after giving birth, my husband and I decided to start our life in my hometown. It's a place full of nature, which is great for raising a child.
Why? Why would you do that?
My mother-in-law was deeply disturbed. Don't you understand? Please reflect on your own doings.
This is all your idea, isn't it?
Dawn involved Greg in this. Actually, it was Greg who suggested it to me. And your husband also said he couldn't take it anymore.
What are you talking about?
It seems like he's decided to live separately soon, and he's already rented a new place. Huh. I guess you haven't heard about it yet. Well, instead of tormenting me, maybe you should be more concerned about yourself.
Anyway, we're done with any involvement with you. We're cutting ties. I think your husband will inform you directly as well.
No way.
My mother-in-law was at a loss for words due to the shock. I didn't stop the momentum and delivered my final farewell. Well then, good luck and goodbye. Afterward, my husband and father-in-law followed through with their plan and directly informed my mother-in-law about the separation. She was shocked and bowed her head in disappointment. From then on, my mother-in-law sent me numerous messages apologizing. Perhaps she thought that if I forgive her, everything would go back to normal. However, at this point, I have no intention of forgiving her. Of course, I have no plans to let her meet our daughter for the time being. And my husband agrees with this decision. Both my husband and father-in-law are ignoring any communication from my mother-in-law. I heard that she is living a lonely and desolate life in her spacious home, where no one comes to visit. It seems that she is mentally struggling. I can understand to some extent the excessive affection she has for her son, especially now that we have a daughter. However, using that love as an excuse to belittle to hurt others is wrong. I don't know how or when my mother-in-law's personality became so twisted, but I hope she reflects on her actions. Sometimes I can't help but think that if she hadn't bullied me, she wouldn't be all alone now. Although I went through a tough time with her, what made me the happiest was that my husband was on my side from the beginning. I realized once again that I can build a truly happy family with him. In that sense, I am grateful to my mother-in-law for raising my husband. Moreover, it's a waste of life to hold on to grudges. Although I can't imagine it right now, I hope that someday, somewhere, I can have a positive reunion with my mother-in-law. I want to live happy, nurturing a loving relationship with my husband, and watching our daughter grow.